Massachusetts and national home prices, highest level in 14 years. Who saw that article? That was all over the news late last week. Home sales at a 14-year high. How does that happen during a pandemic? How does it happen with COVID-19, with a market that virtually shut down at the end of March and early April? Then we get to August and it's the highest level in 14 years. That is because demand came back, and it came back strong, and it's been significant. I'm going to talk to you guys about a whole bunch of things today. I've been promising to do this update. It's been 5 weeks since I've been in front of you all to provide a real estate update. We've had several buyers, several sellers, even realtors saying, where did Anthony go? Why no more market updates? Well, I'm here, and I'm here to do that with you for probably the next 45 minutes, because I'm going to show you all different kinds of things that are going on with the market, what I see happening, what I see coming down the line. All literally just everything that you can think of. One thing that's interesting is we're seeing tremendous demand on single families, but we're seeing less demand on condos, less demand on multifamilies, and I smell some trouble for multifamilies. So I'm going to talk to you about that. We're also seeing suburbs having stronger demand than the city. We're also seeing vacation areas like up in the Lakes region in New Hampshire. We do business up there regularly now as well. Those markets are booming. Florida's booming after a slight lull in the summer. Obviously, most of my update will be Massachusetts and New Hampshire specific, but I do like to talk about things that are going on in other areas, like the rental market. That's part of the reason I'm a little bit concerned about the multifamily properties, particularly in the college areas. So I'm going to be breaking all of this down for you. I'm going to show you our reporting, show you the data, show you the things that I like to look at. This article right here that I'm sharing with you right now is an article that hit Mortgage Daily News last week, and people said, oh my God, I can't believe it. And I couldn't help but get a little, my grandfather would call it smart, getting a little smart. He didn't say that in a nice way, and put it on my own Facebook and say, hey, remember back at the worst part of COVID when none of us knew exactly what was going on? Remember when I said, sorry, the market's not going to crash. It's not. You can't have a market crash when there is an undersupply. Okay, it's impossible for that to happen, and that's why I had said that at the time. So what I want to do now is I want to share with you all some data. We always like to look at the data first, see what's going on in the market. I'll show you what's gone on in the last 5 weeks, and you can see this is our trusty report here on lamakiarealty.com, and this is in the massrealestateupdates.com, marealestateupdates.com page that we built out right back when this happened. And you can see that the amount of homes getting listed per week, I'm going to go full screen on this so you guys can see it really well, but the amount of homes that are getting listed per week are at about maybe 10% higher than last year. So you can see we had the lull right there on Labor Day. See my cursor going down? We had the lull, less homes listed then, but now we're right back above previous years where more homes are getting listed. Now, it's not dramatically more. You look over here, back to March and April and early May. I mean, we had such a deficit there. I said it before, I'll say it again. We won't make up for the ground we lost this year for total homes sold. It's not possible because, yeah, we're exceeding the homes listed, but it's just not enough. Then you go down, you look at showing activity. It's obviously been very strong, dramatically above 2019. You can see the dips for July 4th and for Labor Day. That's typical. Then you look at total homes for sale. This is an astonishing statistic here. And, you know, it's kind of fascinating to me because it really explains everything that we've got going on in the market. People say, well, why are people fighting over homes? Why is there so much demand? Why are there 10 offers on everything I look at? Well, this is why. Look at this. Even right now in the fall, which tends to be a noticeably softer time to buy a home or sell a home, yeah, it's a little softer, but not a ton. And I'll tell you the divide we're seeing. We're seeing it noticeably softer with condos and multifamilies, really not much softer with singles because there's such a run on them. But again, I'm going to go into that more later. Right now, I'm showing you total homes for sale in Massachusetts, 11,775 compared to last year at this time, we were around 19,000. Look at 2018, we were up over 20. It's amazing what's going on here. Then you look at pending home sales. Yeah, we've been higher every week with the amount of pending home sales. And you look at that and you say, okay, well, maybe we can make up total homes sold by the end of the year to be as many as the last 3 years. I don't think so. I don't think it's going to happen. But sale prices are not falling. So if you look at this, particularly with singles, are not. In fact, they're going up. But if you look at this, the amount of homes pending every week is significant. Then you look at homes sold per week. We're trending. We're above last year at this time because obviously it was a late summer kind of a roaring market. Now I go down and I look at the percentage of homes going under contract per week. This morning I was talking to a realtor friend in the North Shore at another company, and he was saying he stares at this, and great guy and very knowledgeable realtor. And he pointed out to me, he said, look at that. 19%, 22%, 18%, 23%. That is the total amount of homes that go pending in a given week, not a month, across Massachusetts. Wildly strong. Okay, look at normally this time of year, we're looking at 11, 12, 13% of properties going under contract. This year, we're significantly higher. Now you look at pricing, okay? This is where I get another mini I told you so moment. If you guys remember, if you've been tuning in since the spring, hey, there's been things I've been wrong about and I've said it, but one thing I was right about, I said prices would not go down. Look at that. August prices, $515,000. That is the average sale price of single families, multis, and condos across Massachusetts, all sold statistics, not just what's in MLS. 515,000, the highest it's ever been, okay, ever. So again, prices aren't going down. Now you look down here, you look at the month of August, we ended up, we ended up at homes listed being up 16%. July homes listed was up 15%. Now you go down, pendings for August up 19%. Sold for August down 4%, okay? So we're catching up, okay? But we've still got tremendous ground to cover. Last year, the 1st to the 27th, compared to this year, the 1st to the 27th to yesterday, we have less homes listed. I don't know if that's because Labor Day fell later, but honestly, it surprises me. I will say, I'll admit what I admitted before. There are less people willing to list than I expected. Back in the spring when this happened, there were many predictions I made. One of them was that we would see a significant amount of people list their homes in May and in June, and it just didn't happen. We saw people list, but it wasn't enough to make up for what came before. So if I go back through this and I review a little bit, I see a gentleman asked a question here. If I comment on the inventory gap from 2020 to 2019, sure, I can go back and elaborate on that a little bit more, and then I'm going to move on. Take a look at this. This is the amount of homes for sale. This is every Saturday. We take a snapshot in time, and we look at an on-market snapshot, and you can see there's 11,775 homes for sale compared to the last 3 years where there's 19,000, 19,500, etc. Folks, this is why we're not seeing the typical fall softening of the market that we normally see. Is it a little bit slower? Are there slightly less offers on homes, slightly less buyers out there? Yes, there is. I mean, think about it. All summer, let me go back a little further and explain something. This is total homes listed, the gap in, okay, here we go. Homes pending per week. Look at this, 2,500, 2,500, 2,000, 25, 25, 25, 22, 23. You look at that, my friends, that adds up to like 20,000 buyers finding homes since the spring. Then you think about the amount of people that gave up on buying a home and went into a rental because they got so darn frustrated that they couldn't find anything. So are there less buyers in the market now than there were 3 months ago? Yes, I think there are, but it's not as much as usual. See, I always say, I've said this many years, I said it in the spring and some realtor friends wanted to choke me for it. Fall is a better time to buy. Winter and spring is a better time to sell. But I will tell you, this year, it's not as much of a difference as usual. And the reason is there's so much leftover demand. I mean, think of it. Yeah, some people lost their jobs, okay? But interest rates went from 3.5%, 3.75% down to 2.5%, 2.75%. These are rates we have never heard of. We've never heard of such a thing. So now all these rates are low. What does that do? That increases what people can afford to buy. It increases the supply of buyers, and it creates more demand. So that's why there's been such a run on things. So you think about that and you say, all right, when will people make up for? When will all of these homes get listed? I think we're talking about 2021 when we'll start to see some of this get made up for. But by that time, keep in mind, there'll be more buyers out as well. There'll be more people back to work. So I do not expect some type of market collapse. I'll say the same thing I said 6 months ago. However, I have to look at it a little differently. Whenever I've talked to you all for the last 16 years of me doing real estate updates, I have a tendency to talk from a global level over the state of Massachusetts, and I have a tendency to group together multi, singles, and condos, just like I'm doing here. But there's a but. I want to show you something. Need to pull up one of my other spreadsheets here and show you all some things that we're looking at with condos. So take a look at this. Condo demand. We're noticing a decrease in condo demand and inventory rising a bit. Now, don't take, if you're someone buying a condo, don't take that as, oh, condos are crashing. No, it's just that there's excess demand on single families. And people who are debating between condo and single, they're saying, you know what, we'll go single. Remember, there also tends to be more condos as you get closer to the city. Well, I will tell you all something, and I'm going to try to say this in the most uncontroversial way possible. The riots don't help either. This morning when I was talking to a broker from another brokerage, and last week I talked to 2 brokers in Boston, and they both said that they've had buyers that have said, I'm out of here. That doesn't help. Okay, so you get a pandemic, which scares people out of tighter areas that they're more dense population, right? So people get scared away for that, but then you put rioting on top of it, and that doesn't help either. Now, obviously, a lot of that's subsided, but it had an impact over the summer, and that's why we're seeing an impact in the condo market. So you look at this. Now, this is as of July. We don't have the updated data, although I did get it emailed to me, somewhat of an updated spreadsheet that I'm going to show you all. But if you look at this and we scroll down, I mean, condo inventory has basically stayed similar to July. Single family inventory has gone down, and we're seeing that with the singles. The single families are getting eaten up. Now I'm going to jump over to this other screen, and I'm going to show you something else. This is data that we pulled this morning. Look at that. All right, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. If you can see those numbers, you can see that inventory of single families. Let me just walk you through. Those numbers are a little tough to see, and I'm having trouble opening the actual Excel file. So, see if I can open the actual file. It's doing an email preview instead. Either way, let me walk you through it. Single families, June 28th, 2017 to September 28th, 2017, there were 5% more single families on the market. 2018, 12% more single families. 2019, it was about even. 2020, there's 14% less single families on the market from June to September. That's major. That's a big difference, okay? Big difference that people need to be, aware of and have an understanding that there's a change there. So I want to make sure everyone's clear on that. Then we look at condos. Condos are, do we have something wrong? Condos are, let's see, 15%. So there's 15% more condos on the market right now than there was back in June. Last year, there was 3% more. In 2018, 14%. So condos are up a bit. But again, the world's not ending here. Then you look at multifamilies. This is where we're seeing a big difference. Again, as you get closer to the cities, there's obviously more multis. Right now, there's 24% more multifamily properties on the market than there were back in June. There's 1,300 compared to 982. It's about 24%. Even if I go back 3 years, the closest to that was 17% in 2018, and that was a different kind of year. Interest rates went up a bit in 18. Last year was 8%. Bottom line is this. I don't want to confuse everybody with all these numbers. Bottom line is this. The demand is still high. It's not as high as it was in the summer with the multis and the condos. With the single families, maybe the demand's a little bit less, but I'll tell you, usually the demand is noticeably less by this time of year, and we're not seeing that as much. So this is going to sound strange, but this is the best time of 2020 for a buyer to buy a home because we are approaching the highest inventory part of the year. So let's go peek at that together right now. I want to show you, and then I'm going to jump to New Hampshire for a minute and then go on to some other topics. But take a look at this. I'll go full screen so you can see it. Right now we're at 11,775 homes for sale. In June, we got up to 11,919. So if you look above, usually June and October is usually higher, except for 18 was or 19 was similar. But if you look at this, you can clearly see that the highest inventory of the year is usually in the fall. I'm going to predict that in a week or two, inventory is going to go over 12,000. So buyers, I know it's not what you're looking for. It's not what you're hoping for. You're hoping for a ton of choices, but it's the best you're going to see this year. You're going to see a burst of inventory, the inventory getting higher, probably come up around here over the next few weeks. And then what we're going to run into is around October 15th, the people that don't sell, they start to say, well, if we're not selling, we'll come off the market and wait till next year. You also see more people saying, let's wait till after the first of the year. They're talking about a vaccine. They're coming out with different drugs to treat it. Clearly, they're making improvements. And that's as they improve on the health side, that will get more people willing to list, okay? So that's why we're seeing things, like I said, stronger in the suburbs, not as strong in the city or cities. Now, when I look at across our offices, in the different areas, Woburn, Hudson, Chelmsford, Leominster, Worcester, Norwood, these places are booming right now. They're extremely, extremely busy. There's a ton of demand. There's a whole bunch of buyers heading to those areas. But, the cities are taking it on the chin a little bit. So I'll tell you this, if you're one of these people who was thinking of getting into the city or perhaps buying a condo, now is a much better time. Much better time. You look at condos in Florida. I mean, the market in Florida has been crazy. I saw an article over the weekend in Miami-Dade County and in Fort Lauderdale. Their home sales are roaring. And why? Because people are going to vacation homes. They're trying to figure out how to have recreation on their own, not needing to go to resorts and things like that. So for the most part, it's a boon for housing. Again, the areas of concern that I have are in multifamilies, particularly the ones closer to the cities, particularly the ones that are more dependent on student housing because less students have come back this year. And I'm also concerned about, I'm a little bit concerned about condos. I'm more concerned about multifamilies, especially those closest to the city. So hope that makes sense. Let me jump to New Hampshire because I want to show you all how things are going in New Hampshire. You can see they're strong here. Again, less homes listed in March and April. We already saw that. Now, New Hampshire did not slow down to the extent that we did. So their snapback or swing back, call it, isn't as dramatic. But if you look at this, we have each week slightly more homes are getting listed than the weeks before. There's no doubt about that. But nothing dramatic. Then you look at showing activity, very strong. Stay with me, Massachusetts people. I'm coming right back. Pending home sales in New Hampshire. Look at this, how strong it is. I will tell you, this points to people running to the suburbs. New Hampshire's booming. New Hampshire, I think, has a shot at making up for the March and April trough of home sales being down that went into obviously May and June and even July. But I don't think Massachusetts does. I think we're going to make up for it in 2021. So you see that homes are pending every week. Demand is high. You look at the number of homes sold. See, their sold stats didn't go down as much as ours. So I think New Hampshire will probably be up this year or even. Now look at the average price. I'll say it again. Prices are not falling. Average price in New Hampshire is approaching $400,000. Look at this graph. It goes from January of 17 through, well, it says May, but then you add 4 months on there, 5 months into September. Prices are higher than they've ever been in New Hampshire. Prices are higher than they've ever been across Massachusetts. Prices are higher than they've ever been in the suburbs. So have that stuff in mind because it does have an impact. I can zoom this a little better for you. It does have an impact on kind of people's buying and selling decisions. I mean, if you're a seller who wants to sell right now, sell. I mean, look, we've been listing properties. We didn't have a single week in Massachusetts. When I say we, I meant the state. That less than 1,000 homes were listed for sale. That's at the worst of COVID, at the, President Trump and Governor Baker and everybody on TV, everybody stay home, everybody stay home. Then there people were posting, do your part. At the worst of it in late March, there was still over 1,000 homes a week getting listed. Now we're talking 2,500, 2,800. So homes are being listed. I don't know about you, but I have not, and God willing it stays this way, I have not heard a story of someone showing their home and people getting COVID and people getting sick. Now, has it maybe happened nationally? I don't know. I haven't heard it. I hope it doesn't. But I will tell you the realtor community as a whole, both here at Lamacchia Realty and realtors at other companies, by and large, are really, really doing all they can to keep the listings safe. Here at our company, we have specific steps. We have specific things that we recommend to our sellers, specific things that we ask of our agents that we say, hey, look, you're not showing a house unless people have a mask on. If they won't wear a mask, don't bring them in the house. Period. We don't care. Someone gets mad, someone says you're rude. We don't care. We care more about keeping our home sellers safe. Well, most realtors at other companies have that attitude. All right. So think about that, because if you're not listing your home because you're concerned about safety, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, you know what? I think you can move on from that. You don't have to wait around forever. And if you remember right, if you watched me back in the spring, I said, look, if you're not comfortable, don't list it. Well, enough time's gone by and there hasn't been any terrible stories that I'm saying, hey, if you're hesitant because of safety, I think you're in the clear. We seem to have this thing down. We're telling many of our sellers, leave the doors open that you want to, leave the lights on that you want on, so that our realtors, and especially the buyers that come in, they don't even have to touch things. You can walk around your home with a mask on, look around, mask over nose, look around and leave your home. And we've seen a ton of that. So if you want more information on how we're safely showing homes, log on to safehomeshowing.com. That's safehomeshowing.com. So you can see a lot of the things that we asked of our realtors, and heck, many of the realtors helped us develop this back in the spring, and things that we're adhering to here at Lamacchia Realty. And I have to say, most realtors out there are adhering to them as well. So again, okay, well, prices are strong. Demand is very strong. If you're a seller, I was going to say, again, I don't see a reason to hold off on listing. If you're a buyer, look, I know it's been a tough year. It's been the toughest year for you that I have ever seen, okay? Being honest. It has been the most competitive year that I've ever seen. But the next, I can't say 60, I said 63 weeks ago. The next month will be the best time to buy that you have seen in the last 3 weeks, the entire year. So if you're watching and you're like, what is this guy talking about? I've been looking, I'm not finding what I want. I understand, pickings are slim, but this is as good as it's going to get. And in about a month, people that aren't selling are going to come off the market. Way less people are going to list, and inventory is going to go extremely low for the holidays. It will be by far the lowest during the holidays it's ever been. So we're going to have to, it's getting a little better right now, but then we're going to have to get worse again before we get better. And let me tell you something, buyers. Every one of you, every year, right at the first of the year says, I'm buying a home this year. And you all come out in droves. And every year, the amount of buyers after the first of the year, in the first quarter, the second quarter, is gargantuan. So if you can find yourself a home now in the next month or two, you are going to be in much better shape than if you wait until the first quarter, when droves of people are going to come out and demand is going to be even higher. And here's what will happen. Sellers don't list as fast as buyers want to buy in the beginning of the year. Okay, sellers are more concerned about their impatience showing and the snow getting cleared up. Buyers aren't, for the most part. And that's why we see such a run, such incredibly high demand every single year right around the beginning of the year. So if you don't take advantage of buying in the next 4 weeks, that's okay. I'm not going to lose any sleep, right? But I'm just being straightforward with you and helping you understand that the way inventory flows, and I can even, I can't show you with the market. I was going to show you with the market. But the way inventory flows every single year, let me jump back. I'm going to show you one more time on this screen. The way that inventory flows every single year is like this. See this? This is the winter, my friends, right there where my cursor is. Let me zoom in even more for you. This is the winter over here. Look where inventory is every single year at that time. It's very low. Then it goes up as you get into spring. This year we were headed up, and then our legs got cut out with COVID. That's what frankly screwed the market up, derailed the market. Next year, you'll see the same thing. We're going to start inventory after the first of the year even lower. I think we'll be below 10,000. We'll be down here somewhere. And it's going to be a grind to find a home. So if you haven't found one already, you should really work to try to find one in the next 4 to 6 weeks. Not to say you can't find one in November, you can't find one in December. People list, of course they do. But there's more listings available in the next 4 weeks than the 4 after, the 4 after, the 4 after. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Now, I want to answer a couple questions. Would you recommend buying a condo for a rental now? Okay, interesting question. I would say if you're buying a condo for a rental right now, if it's near the city and you're willing to go the next 6 months potentially without a tenant, sure. If you can stomach that, fine. I bought a commercial building somewhere that we haven't got a single call, but I went into it saying, well, I'm not going to get any calls, but this is something that I need to buy now, and I will stomach it till 2021. You will likely get a good deal, a better deal, if you can buy a condo, particularly in the next 4 weeks, closer to Boston. If you're buying it for a rental, just know that getting it rented is going to be harder from now till next spring. We are going through an unusually difficult rental period that we are really in the beginning of in the last month, and it's going to get worse for a while, particularly closer to the city. It will not stay like this forever. But this is going to be a harder time. A lot of it's because the students didn't come back. The colleges didn't bring their students back. You know, you think about the universities in Boston. You get Northeastern University, Boston University, Harvard, MIT. I could go on and on, right? Folks, it's like its own economy in there. Just that. So all those kids not coming back to school has changed things. That is creating more inventory among student housing, which is then creating more inventory among all the other housing. So just know that we're headed through a rough rental period for a while. And that is why I think multifamily prices might be affected. Now, do I think they'll come down? If I had to bet, I think the answer is yes. I think that we will see an impact on multifamilies around Boston. Do I think it's going to be in 08? No, but we might see a 5-10% adjustment here for the next 6 months before things get back on track and go back up. So if you're an investor, this is the time to buy. In the next 6 months is a good time to buy if you are an investor. So let's see, what other comments do we have here? Bill Wendell, is this the flip side? The risk of buying on the top of the market. Economists on both sides of the political divide expect a K-shaped recovery that will take years to heal. I actually don't agree with that, Bill. Most of them are talking about a V-shaped recovery. I know the airline industry is expecting a K-shaped recovery, but no, you can leave. Let's leave the question up there. So when the shadow inventory hits the market, here's the thing, Bill. You might be right, but I don't think so. And you're not necessarily making a bet here, so I shouldn't say you're right or wrong. But I'll tell you this. I guess it's blocking me, Lindsay. I will tell you this. There were a lot of buyers that pulled out of the market this year. A lot. Some of them pulled out through fear. I can't tell you how many. We had dozens of buyers back at the end of March said, I'm out, keep my deposit. Half of them called back by the end of April. Can I still get that house? No, it's gone. So there was an overreaction, I think, among all of us. But there were many buyers who pulled out of the market from losing a job, from maybe losing a job, and from being cautious, being scared. A lot of those buyers have come back in. There will be droves of them that come back in 2021. So even though I agree with Bill in the sense that there's going to be some shadow inventory that, whoop, here it comes, but I don't think it's going to be anything dramatic. And I'll tell you why. This is the number one reason. The ultimate procrastinators among home sellers is what we call the downsizers, the empty nesters. Empty nesters and downsizers have a tendency to talk about selling for 5 years before they actually do it. So they are the first ones, or were the first ones, when the pandemic hit in the spring, that they were like, forget it. We're older. They're saying, if you're older, you need to be more careful. We love our home, been here 30 years, right? Forget it. We'll stay. They're the first ones to say that. Well, listen, every single one of them is not going to list next year. There's going to be plenty of them that say, I still don't want strangers in my house. I'll wait an extra year. So this shadow inventory is not going to just suddenly hit on March 1st. It's going to be something that comes over time. So I'm still making a bet. I'll tell you this, Bill. I'm making 100% bet that we will not see a decrease in pricing with single families. Won't happen. The only way, I'd say my only caveat to that is if there's like a second wave, and God forbid we were, there's been some countries with second waves where they get stuck in the house another month or 2 months. Well, if that happens for 2-3 months, that changes things. But the way we're going now, where we're putting along and the economy's opening up more and more, I don't see that happening. Multis is really the only thing I'm a bit worried about. Let's see here. For first-time buyers who've been active, what role is, I think Lindsay and I are fighting over the mouse here. What role is mom and dad playing for the first-time buyers who've been active? Bill must be a dad who's wondering if he wants to help his kids buy. So, yes, there are some parents that are participating in helping their kids buy homes. I wouldn't say that there's any more or any less going on right now. In 08, 09, there was noticeably less. Now, I wouldn't say. I'm still hearing it. You mentioned something about gift money, things like that. I don't think that, that's mortgage dependent, so it doesn't matter a ton. Here's a good one. Jenny. Hi, Jenny. So I have a 2-family looking to buy a single family. Should I list my 2-family this year or wait? Jenny, comment and say what town it's in. I would say this. If you wait, the problem with waiting is I do expect the multis, especially closer to Boston, to take a little dip. And I'm not talking dramatic, but take a little dip. The trouble is, as those are dipping, Southbridge doesn't matter. You're fine. You're not near Boston. Southbridge is a long way away. But as those are dipping, single families are going up. So yeah, if you want to sell and buy and you live in Southbridge, you want to buy somewhere in Worcester County, just make sure you call Lamakia Realty. All right, Jenny? We're here to help you. All right, so let me make sure that I covered everything. I know it's a little bit confusing. I know it's a lot of numbers, and I threw a lot at you, but I want to make sure that I covered everything. Again, suburbs, booming, vacation areas, New Hampshire, the Lakes region. We have some realtors up there who do a great job. They're busy as could be. We're seeing it busier in Florida. We're referring more people down to Lauderdale and Miami and Southwest Florida, Fort Myers, Sanibel. So we're seeing more of that. Seeing definitely a surge in the suburbs. I also want to say this, though. I just thought of this. Some people that are like acting like the city is dead and buried. Look, folks, don't call a funeral home because it ain't happening. All right? This isn't going to last forever. What has happened is the people who are thinking of buying in the suburbs in a year or 2 or 3, some of them have said, let's go. Let's do it. Let's do it now. They've speeded up their plan. We saw the same thing happen in 2015 after all that snow. Remember when we got 92 inches of snow in 22 days? I distinctly remember being on Channel 5, and they asked me, do you think there's going to be a mass exodus of people? We're hearing tons of people are moving to Florida. And we said, there's not going to be a mass exodus. We are seeing an increase in our relocation business and people buying in Florida. But everybody that's calling us is saying, we were going to go next year. Now we want to go this year. We were going to do it in 2 years. We decided to retire. Now we're going now. But it didn't just make people totally change their life plan, right? So have that in mind, because believe me, the cities aren't dying. New York City's down, commercial real estate is down. That's another area that I'm a little concerned about, is commercial as well. But condos, little less demand. Singles, you're booming if you have a single family. So, Lindsay, did I forget anything? I don't think so. That's a wrap, my friends. Thank you very much.